From stories across the globe to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
Good evening, I'm Clifford Richards. First of all, we take a look at the headlines. Paliagoda Manning Market Complex declared open. $300 million worth factory to Hambantota. Sri Lankan travellers are not required to self-isolate on arrival in Britain. Search operations are underway to detect the female who fled from the IDH hospital. Jaffna High Court rejects the request made by LTTE sympathisers to grant permission for the Mahaviru commemoration. A cache of 100 kilos of heroin into police custody from Mathura, Valigama. Distribution of fertilizer for the Maha season, free of charge, commences. The USA prepares to provide the COVID vaccine from next month. And moving on to the stories in detail. The Paliagoda Manning Market Complex was declared open today. It was held under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Preliminary plans for the market complex were prepared in the year 2011 to shift the Colombo Manning Market Complex to Paliagoda area as a solution for heavy traffic congestion in the Colombo city. The shifting of the market complex was carried out under the instructions of the Secretary of Defence and Urban Development, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Also, the shifting of the fisheries market to the Paliagoda area was implemented under the same project. The market complex consists of 1,192 trade stalls. A total of 6.5 billion rupees was spent to build the four-story Manning Market Complex in Paliagoda. This market complex consists of modern facilities such as medical centers, banks, restaurants, and deep freezing storage facilities. The complex consists of parking facilities for 600 vehicles. The efficiency of the distribution of vegetables is also expected to increase through the Paliagoda interchange. Colombo Manning Market Complex, which was limited for only 2 acres, was extended to nearly 13.5 acre land area in Paliagoda. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that the development activities in the country have not been stalled amidst COVID-19 outbreak for the benefit of the public. He said that a decision taken during his presidential tenure has come into realization through this initiative. The Premier said that the public would face numerous difficulties if the development projects fail to commence on time. He added that the shifting of the fisheries market to Paliagoda area was implemented under the instructions of the then Secretary of the Defence and Urban Development, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He further said that the shifting of the Manning market to this area was planned during this period. The Premier said that even though they commenced these projects in 2013, the Yahapalana government caused delays in implementing the projects. He said that, however, they were given the opportunity to inaugurate the projects due to the delays caused in the previous government period. He said that the present government will allocate the trading stalls at the new complex to the rightful owners. He added that the Yahapalana government in power, the trading stalls would have been distributed among their henchmen. The Prime Minister said that the previous government only focused on political vengeance. He said that the previous government filed cases against everyone, including his family. He said that the government officials were afraid to carry out their duties in fear of court cases. The Premier said that the wholesale trading and trading of building material will also be introduced to the Paliagoda market complex.
කෝටාබේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාට නඩු දැම්මා. අපිට නඩු දැම්මා. හැමදාම උසාවි, හැමදාම පොලිසියේ, හැමදාම CID එකේ, කොමිෂන් වල රටක් නිදහස් කරගත්තම යුද්ධයක් අවුරුදු 30ක කාලයක් විච යුද්ධයක් අවසන් කරාම කළා රටක සංවර්ධනය කරාම ඒක පැත්තකින් ඕවා විඳින්න අපි පුරුදු වෙන්න ඕන. ලලිත් ඉරතුංග අනුෂ පැල්පිට නිදොස් කර නිදහස් කළා. ඔවුන් රාජ්‍ය සේවයේ හොඳ නිලධාරී. ඔවුන් කරපු සේවය අගේ නො වෙනුවට ඔවුන් හිරවක් කෑවුවා. අධිකරණ පද්ධතියේ තියෙන ස්වාධීනත්වය ඊයේ වුණා. නැත්නම් රාජ්‍ය සේවකයා බය වෙලා හිටියේ වැඩක් කරන්න. තීන්දුවක් ගත්තම ඇමතිවරයෙක් දෙපාරක් හිතන්න ඕනේ මේක කරනවද නැද්ද? මට හිරේ යන්න වෙයිද නැද්ද? ඒකින්ද මේවා ගැන අපිට හිතන්න වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපි මාළු වලලු තොග වෙනදාම් පමණක් නොවේ. ඊටකොට පවත්වාගෙන යන වියලි ආහාර තොග බඩු කුඩනගිලි දාවි තොග බඩුද ඉදිරියේදී පෑලියට ගොඩට ගේන්න අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ ජනතාවගේ සුවපහසුව වෙනුවෙන්.
Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage and State Minister Dr. Nalaka Godaheva were present at this occasion. The agreement for the latest and the largest investment project in the technical garden of the Hambantota port was signed yesterday. Accordingly, a tire factory with an investment of $300 million will be constructed. The Q Shop 1000 project initiated for young entrepreneurs was commenced yesterday under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. It was held at the Sri Lanka State Trading General Corporation premises. Under the first phase of the project, 1000 Q shops expected to be initiated across the country. Plans have been made to initiate 14,000 Q shops covering each Gram Niladhari division in the country by 2024. The project was initiated in accordance to a concept of Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena. According to the vision of prosperity police frame, the main objective of this project is to trade high-quality commodities at low price rates for consumers to create competitive young entrepreneurs, and also young entrepreneurs will be identified through the uplifting of young entrepreneurs program initiated by the Ministry of Sports. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena presented ACDs consisting of Obadaya Virua song written by the minister to the Prime Minister at the occasion.
The National Tree Planting Program titled Husma Dena Thuru was initiated today. A total of 2 million saplings are expected to be planted under the project. Accordingly, the forest cover in the country expected to be increased by 30% through the project. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa initiated the program by planting a sandalwood tree sapling near the entry point of the Defence Headquarters in front of the Central Environmental Authority in Battaramulla. The program has been initiated in accordance to the Vision of Prosperity State Policy Framework. The program will be initiated in accordance to the suitability of each area with the aim to increase the oxygen capacity and reduce the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. The program has been initiated as a joint venture of the Ministry of Environment, Central Environmental Authority, Defence Headquarters and Sri Lanka Army. A group of students received tree saplings symbolizing the nationwide distribution of tree saplings. Minister Mahinda Amaravira, Secretary to the Ministry of Environment Dr. Anil Jasingha and Sri Lanka Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva were present at this occasion.
The Ministry of Health says that a total of 13,271 COVID-19 recoveries were recorded in the country at present. Meanwhile, 368 fully recovered patients have left hospitals today. A batch of 86 patients at the COVID-19 treatment centers in the Polonnaruwa district have left the centers today following their complete recovery from the disease. The recovery of patients have been identified as residents from Colombo, Gampaha, Badulla, Ampara, Noreli and Hambantota districts. A batch of 16 patients at the Pinnavalla COVID-19 treatment center has left the center today. The recovered patients have been identified as residents from Gampa, Kalutura and Matara districts. A total of 8,872 recoveries reported in the country since the beginning of this month. The highest number of recoveries was reported on the 5th of November. A total of 439 patients were detected from the country yesterday. Meanwhile, 316 fully recovered patients left hospitals yesterday. A total of 10,356 PCR tests were conducted yesterday. Accordingly, 713,409 tests have been conducted in the country at present. A total of 220 COVID-19 patients were detected from the country today. Patients have been identified as close contacts of the Paliagoda COVID-19 cluster. Meanwhile, 368 fully recovered patients left hospitals today. A 26-year-old woman and a 2.5-year-old child from that area were receiving treatment for the COVID-19 disease at the National Infectious Disease Hospital fled the hospital last night. The patient, identified as an inmate of the Kuruveta prison, was admitted to the hospital after testing positive. The patient had kept her child last night at a residence in Ahliagoda, Yaya Road area and fled the area. The child was found this morning by the police. The police, public health inspectors and residents of the area had commenced a search operation to detect her after learning that the COVID-19 patient had allegedly travelled in a private bus from Ahliagoda to Idangoda. Steps have been taken to isolate Civil Defence Force camp in Vennavat, Vellampitiya area for 14 days following the detection of COVID-19 patients from inside the camp. Meanwhile, 5 COVID-19 patients have been detected from the Civil Defence Corps camp in Katunayaka. Accordingly, steps have been taken to isolate the entire camp. Chairman of the Private Bus Owners Association, Gemman Vijayaratna, has prepared a bus modernized in accordance with the health guidelines. A newly modernized bus was introduced to the State Minister Dilum Amunagama today. A group of Sri Lankans stranded abroad without being able to return to the country due to the COVID-19 outbreak arrived into the country yesterday and today. 149 Sri Lankans arrived from Australia, Japan, Qatar and Dubai. Accordingly, returnees were subjected to PCR tests at the airport premises and directed to quarantine. Meanwhile, in a statement, the Railways Department has said that no passenger train services will be deployed tomorrow and the day after.
Chief Epidemiologist Dr. Sudath Samaravira says that necessary measures must be taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19 outbreak following the reopening of schools across the country in the face of many challenges ahead. He said that parents, students and academic and non-academic staff have a great responsibility to curb the further spread of the disease. He made these remarks at a media briefing held today.
We know that after several months of the closing down of the schools, schools will be reopening on Monday. That is from the year 6 to 13 in the areas outside other than the Western Province and isolated areas. And this is a huge challenge to all because still the virus is spreading. That we can see that there are cases reporting, especially in the Colombo Municipal Council area and in the Western Province, but in other areas also more or less that these cases are reporting. So with that, when the opening schools to prevent bringing the virus into the school and then spread into a larger crowd of the larger communities, to prevent that is a very big challenge. But we have to take this challenge because these children we can't keep them in at home all the time. The distance learning methods will not be applicable to all the people in the country, especially in remote areas. They don't have smartphone access to get for online training, as well as there will not be that connectivity with the mobile connectivity or internet connectivity will not be there, and it will not be affordable to all the people. So because of that, somehow that we have to start this formal education system, the classroom education for the children. So with that, it is the responsibility of the parents, teachers, principals and also the school children to prevent introducing the COVID-19 into their schools and then taking it to their homes. So because of that, everybody should be vigilant and also should understand what is their role and responsibilities in this exercise and should contribute their share. Main thing is that when children are coming to the school, when they are going out of the home, should wash their hands properly and should wear a face mask and come to the school. And also that when entering the classroom should again wash their hands properly and then go into the classrooms, and also should frequently wash their hands with soap and water when they are in school. Parents also should be responsible that if a child is having the signs and symptoms of fever, cough, cold, sore throat and difficulty in breathing, chest pain like this COVID-19 like symptoms, they should not send to the school and they should get medical advice on them, and also should inform the school about the illness.
We now deviate from the local stories and look at the global situation with regard to COVID-19. Now, COVID-19 tally in India surpassed the 9 million grim milestone within the last 24 hours, while Mexico passed the 100,000 mark in COVID-19 deaths yesterday. The global number of confirmed COVID-19 cases has risen to 56.95 million, with the death toll reaching 1.34 million thus far. Well, the United States topped all countries in the world in both confirmed coronavirus cases and deaths, reporting 11.7 million infections and more than 252,000 deaths related to COVID-19. Meanwhile, India recorded more than 9 million coronavirus cases with 45,882 new infections confirmed within the last 24 hours, along with a total of more than 132,000 deaths. India, world's second most populous nation, is only second to the country's crossed 9 million coronavirus infections after the United States. But cases have slowed down in the country after hitting a peak in September. However, Indian health authorities have warned that the country could still see a spike after the festival of Diwali was celebrated this month. Moving into Russia, reporting a record high of 24,318 coronavirus infections today, bringing the national tally to 2.03 million cases. Authorities also reported 461 coronavirus-related deaths in the last 24 hours, taking the official death toll to over 35,000. A recent surge in cases has taken Russia past the 2 million threshold, being only behind United States, India, Brazil, France in total infections. And moving into Mexico, passing the 100,000 mark in COVID-19 deaths yesterday, becoming only the fourth country behind United States, Brazil, and India. Mexico reporting 100,104 confirmed COVID-19 deaths. Total coronavirus cases in Africa have surpassed the 2 million mark despite a slow addition of reported infections compared with other regions around the world. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said 54-nation continent has seen more than 48,000 deaths from the COVID-19. Its infections and deaths make up less than 4% of the global total. South Africa has the continent's highest number of reported COVID-19 cases at less than 750,000, with a death rate of 2.71%. The WHO has warned Europe a tough 6 months ahead as the region has yet again become the epicenter of the pandemic. The WHO Europe director said that the continent had recorded more than 29,000 new COVID-19 deaths last week. Most European countries reintroduced tight restrictions and the stem of the spreading of the disease as a second wave of the pandemic gathered pace in October. In Europe, the UK has the highest death toll as 53,870, while France has the highest number of cases at 2.11 million. In the meantime, the European Union has agreed to pay more than $10 billion to secure hundreds of millions of doses of the vaccine being developed by Pfizer, BioNTech, and CureVac. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization recommended against using the antiviral remdesivir, a drug that had generated intense interest as a treatment for COVID-19. An expert panel concluded that remdesivir has no meaningful effect on mortality or on other important outcomes for patients, including the need for mechanical ventilation or time to clinical improvement. However, Gilead Sciences, manufacturer of remdesivir, in a statement said that the drug is recognized as a standard of care from several national organizations, including the U.S. National Institutes of Health and Infectious Diseases Society of America, Japan, UK, and Germany. United Nations Conference on Trade and Development said yesterday that the global economy is facing a staggering 4.3% contraction in 2020 due to the negative impact of COVID-19. A report issued by UNCTAD pointed out that if the COVID-19 crisis persists in the next year, an additional 130 million people will be living in extreme poverty. The report emphasizes that the impact of COVID-19 is uneven, with low-income families, immigrants, formal employees, and women more severely affected, and the tourism industry and small and medium and micro enterprises are disproportionately affected. It also stresses that as the poorest and the most vulnerable countries in the world lack necessary resources to cope with the impact of COVID-19, which increases the vulnerability to the crisis and enhances the impact of the pandemic on poverty, the world poverty rate is estimated to rise 8.8%, the first time since 1997 Asian financial crisis.
In the meantime, Sri Lanka has been included into the safe travel list of England. Accordingly, travellers from Sri Lanka are not required to self-isolate on arrival in England. The Great Britain's safe travel list on the travellers arriving into the country from foreign nations was issued on the 8th of June. The safe list has been formulated considering the activities of the countries taken towards the mitigation and prevention of COVID-19 outbreak. Israel, Uruguay and Sri Lanka were added to England's safe travel list yesterday. Accordingly, travellers from Sri Lanka will no longer be required to self-isolate on arrival in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Lifting this restriction will ease travel from Sri Lanka to parts of the UK whilst managing the risk of further infections, in a statement issued by British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Sarah Hulton. She has further indicated that the decision was reached allowing prospective students to benefit from the UK's world-class university system. According to the British government, decisions on exempted countries are informed by a number of factors, including the latest epidemiological assessments. We'll be back with more stories after a break. Welcome back, and we continue with more stories here at home. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the Mahanayaka Thera was a perfect mirror of a generous bodhisattva character endowed with unparalleled process, benevolent wealth, benevolent enlightenment and noble attitudes. The Prime Minister made these remarks while issuing a condolence message for the demise of late Chief Prelate of Sri Lanka Ramanya sect, Most Venerable Agga Mahapandita Napane Pemasiri Thera. The late Chief Prelate was paramount in following the Buddhist order and traditions in the utmost meaningful manner. With the merits accumulated in his samsara to enter the Sambuddha Sasana, the late Mahanayaka Thera was a bhikkhu who had a sound understanding on the social and religious mission to be fulfilled by a great and disciplined Thera. The late prelate never strayed from the path of the Dharma discipline in the face of various challenges and was a great character who set a precedent for his followers. The message further said that the late chief prelate made decisions in unison with the Mahasangha belonging to the tri-sects in the country on general matters related to the Buddha Sasana, religious and national affairs of the country, and as a result, the late chief prelate received the respect and honours of the Mahasangha. The Prime Minister in his message wished late Chief Prelate Napane Pemasiri Mahanayaka Thera to attain the sublime realization of nirvana from a Bodhi he invoked blessings. A large gathering, including all religious leaders and people's representatives, were present to pay their last respects. The remains of the late prelate is currently laid at the Hurikadua Vidyasagara Piriven Viharasthana in Manikinna. The funeral will be held at the Bandaranayaka Vidyalaya grounds in Kundasala at 2 p.m. on Sunday. The national television will bring the live telecast to the cremation ceremony from 1:30 p.m. onwards.
The National Fertilizer Secretariat says that a total of 12,130 metric tons of fertilizer have been distributed for farmers in Trincomalee district on a free-of-charge basis during this Maha season. The fertilizer WS distributed to reap harvest from 46,895 hectares of paddy fields. Accordingly, a total of 8,076 metric tons of urea, a total of 1,074 metric tons of TSP, and 2,347 metric tons of MOP have been distributed. A paddy harvest of 234,475 metric tons is expected from Trincomalee district during this Maha season. The farmer community extended their appreciation to the President for providing fertilizer free of charge.
The Jaffna Court today dismissed 4 petitions filed seeking a writ order to prevent the attempts taken by the police to halt the Mahaviru commemoration. The police said that the decision rendered by the court was a historic verdict. 4 persons in northern region had filed relevant petitions with the Jaffna High Court. DIG in charge of Northern Province and the Director General of Health Services have been named as the respondents in the petitions. The commemorations were expected to be held from November 25th onwards. When the writ petitions were taken up for hearing, a panel of attorneys led by Additional Solicitor General Sumati Dharmawardana made submissions before the court in this regard. They informed that the court has no jurisdiction to hear such petitions in accordance to the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. The court accepted the submissions made on behalf of the Attorney General. President's Counsel M.S. Sumandiran represented the petitioners.
The police special task force was able to apprehend a cache of 100 kilograms of heroin from Valigama Matara area this evening. 3 suspects have been arrested in this regard and their vehicle was also taken into police custody. The cache of heroin was taken into custody as a result of an operation conducted for several days. The suspects and the apprehension of heroin is expected to be handed over to the Police Narcotics Bureau for further investigations.
More than 750 million rupees worth monetary prizes were awarded among 16 winners generated by National Lotteries Board. It was held at a ceremony organized in parallel to the 75th birthday celebrations of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The National Lotteries Board, which has been creating winners for the last 60 years, is an institution rendering a massive strength for the development of the country. Creating a record in the history of Sri Lanka lotteries, the honour of extending the largest cash prize of more than 230 million rupees belongs to the National Lotteries Board. This cash prize was won by a resident in Kandy, PMDP Vijayalata, from the draw number 621 of the Mega Power Lottery. The relevant cheque was presented by the Prime Minister yesterday. 15 lottery winners of the Mega Power Mahajana Sampatha, Govisata and Jatika Sampatha lotteries also received their cash prizes at the ceremony. A special lottery of the Sevana lottery was also issued to the market in parallel to this occasion. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga, State Minister Indika Anuruddha, Chairman of the National Lotteries Board, Attorney at Law Lalit Piyum Pereira were present at this occasion.
The construction of the new bypass to prevent the traffic congestion of the Varakapula town was commenced today. This 2.5-kilometer long bypass will be constructed at a cost of more than 4,000 million rupees. The new bypass is expected to ease the traffic in the town, allowing the public to commute conveniently. 500 meters of the bypass will be constructed upon pillars, and the construction of the road was initiated by the presence of Minister Johnston Fernando. State Minister Nimal Lanza and Kanaka Herap were present at this occasion. The project is expected to be completed within a period of 1 year. The Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited has decided to construct several tanks in the Kolonnaur terminal to store petrol. The project consists of 3 state-of-the-art tanks which could be holding up to 21,000 metric tons of oil. The project was commenced in the presence of Minister Uday Gamanpilla. The project is expected to be completed within a period of 20 months. Rig tire factory constructed in the Investment Board Technical Zone in Bhagavata was observed by Minister Vimala Weerawansa today. The factory, which is expected to be constructed under 2 phases, is a $250 million worth project. The initiative is expected to be generating approximately 600 new job opportunities. The objective of this factory is to export 80% of the total production. Construction of 9-storied multi-purpose building, including a vehicle park, was commenced today. The project was being initiated by the Urban Development and Housing Ministry. The first 4 levels of the building will be allocated for vehicle parking, and the ground floor will be allocated for a bus station and a market premises. The 5th level is expected to be a green zone, which will have restaurants, while the rest of the levels will be allocated for housing projects consisting of 40 housing units. A total of 147 million rupees have been estimated for the preparation of the foundation, while 1,500 million rupees have been estimated for the construction. The second phase of the Haritha Kedalla housing scheme project at Kahatudua in Piliyandala was commenced today. The 5-story complex is consisting of 80 housing units. According to the program, the vision of prosperity to build the nation. The constructions have been carried out by the Ministry of Rural Housing and Building Material Industry. Ministers Dr. Bandula Gunawardhan and Gamini Lokuge and State Minister Indika Anuruddha were present. Well, those are the local stories, and we'll be back with international stories shortly.